Yeah.
Hello, everybody on YouTube. This was supposed to be live streamed, but it is not. So you're seeing this the next day, probably. Sonic 3 came out, the new movie, as you know, this weekend. We've all seen it. A couple of these guys have seen it twice. It was awesome. We're here to talk about it and discuss it. Um, so first, we're gonna do non-spoilers, and then we'll do spoilers after that. But we'll start with spoilers or non-spoilers. Starting out, let's just talk a little bit about the movie, what we thought of it, overall thoughts. I loved it.
Um,
Go
Greatest
for it.
piece of cinema that's ever existed.
Yeah,
know?
no, okay.
It's just like you don't need to watch anything else in life. You can go ahead and go to like the Eternal Sunshine, like brain erasing lab, and erase your memories of every other movie that's ever come out. This is the only one you need. That's how good it is.
This is easily the best movie I've seen all year. Like, I saw Writers' post. I'm like, okay, yeah, it will be pretty good. And I'm like,
I was definitely fangirling,
Wow.
like real hardcore fangirling about that movie. I was like, this is everything I ever wanted. If this came out when I was like 13 years old, like I would be like 10,000 times a better person right now.
mm.
And I loved
Speaking about 13 years old, yeah,
no, go for it.
there was a lot of kids in my second. There was a lot of kids in the second
Oh, I
one. The
had
second
totally
time I
yeah.
saw it,
too.
there was tons of kids watching it. Everyone cheered. More people cheered in the first showing that I saw than the second one. But the first one was like the fan event, and everyone had like Sonic Adventure 2 merch. Everyone was wearing a Sonic Adventure 2 shirt or jacket in the theater. Versus the second time I saw it, a little less about the Sonic fandom. Like it was more like kids when I saw it the second time.
You know, it gives me a perspective of
Go
like
ahead.
it makes me more excited not only for Sonic 4 but Mario 2
Mm.
because yeah, it's a different studio, but you got to think like how successful these movies are. Like things with video game adaptations, just with the exception of Borderlands, are tend to get better and better these days, and we live in an age where it's like we're getting very lucky and very fortunate to have these things. Because Sonic 1, you know, I want to hear you guys' thoughts on Sonic 1 before they changed the design
Yeah.
of Sonic.
Listen, I was like, you can actually watch my videos from back then. Like that was one of my very first like times I've ever gotten to like break through like a big hit video on YouTube, was talking about that initial design of the Sonic movie. And the reason that my videos hit was like I was trying very desperately to defend it, and trying to figure out how to like, play devil's advocate and be like, okay, well, everyone says that this is horrible and this is bad, but it could work. The eyes, you could get used to them. Looking back on it, I definitely was lying to myself. It just like I think it would have. I think the script of the first movie would have still like shined through a little bit, but I think that design would have been way too distracting. So I'm ultimately very glad that they changed it, and that was definitely a sign of how dedicated this like team was to making this movie series as great as possible and making sure that like everyone was as happy with it as possible. Like that was definitely like an initial sign, like a green flag you would call it, of what was to come. And boy, I had no idea what was going to come.
I'd
But
say
I'm
that
quite
if
happy
they
to see what has happened.
and if they wouldn't have changed that design, we might not have even got a sequel because a lot of people were not going to see it with that
No.
Sonic design.
Nope.
It wouldn't have had the
Yeah.
success that it did. And thank goodness the movie came out like right before COVID hit too at the time, because it came out in February, right beforehand, so it got all of
Oh,
its
yeah.
like money that it needed like that first few weeks before things hit the fan. So it was like
That's crazy.
Yeah.
sweet. That
Yeah.
was the last movie that probably all of us seen before everything happened, you know. But
I
that being
will
said-
say I am really happy that the original design did actually get redemption during a Chip and Dale's arc. They
Yes.
had
Yep.
ugly Sonic.
that was good.
That was my favorite.
That was good.
That
Yeah,
was
I
Big fans
remember
about
like
that.
it's funny. Like I've seen the first one and the second one in theaters, and it's cool like continue that tradition. But like this one easily was like the best theater experience I've ever had. Like not just with all three of them, but like period. Like kind of what Game Around was saying, there were a lot of kids and teens in the theater for me. And like, like everyone was like laughing, cheering. Like it felt like I was part of something special. It wasn't just like I'm just watching a movie with like random people. Like it felt like
Yeah.
we were all rooting together, and I haven't felt that since like Endgame in like 2019. So that's crazy.
That's awesome.
Well, that's because it's Sonic the Hedgehog. Get with the
Yep.
program. This is an event.
And I like
Facts.
that.
Best platformer series out there.
The thing I like most about these movies, the first movie, I didn't go see with my dad because he didn't know. He doesn't really know about Sonic, but he really liked that movie. So we seen the second one in the theater, and I got to see the third one in the theater with my dad. He doesn't play video games. He just really likes these movies, and I love that I get to go see the Sonic movies with my dad because he really enjoys these movies, even if he doesn't know anything about the games or the lore or any of that stuff. He just really likes these movies, and I love that I get to experience them with him. It's really cool. Now.
Oh no, I've had like a similar experience recently. I started dating a guy, and he's not like really that knowledgeable about Sonic. So I was like, well, we need to fix that because that's unacceptable. So I forced him to watch the first and second movies, and we just saw like the third one on Thursday, and I would say he definitely enjoyed it. Maybe he was trying to make sure he looked like he was enjoying it in front of me, but he definitely seemed like he was big on it. And it's just really cool to like introduce Sonic to like people around you and really get them into it. And it's really nice now because when I was a kid, Sonic was going through the ringer. Like when I was a kid, he was coming out with games like Shadow the Hedgehog and Sonic 06 and Sonic Lost World and Sonic Boom. You know, people didn't really want to get into Sonic around me.
Sonic the Hedgehog on the Game Boy Advance, the original one, that was really bad, unfortunately.
Yeah, so like it's really weird for me as a Sonic fan now because I grew up during Sonic's like struggle bus era, basically. So this is literally the first time I feel like in my life where Sonic's actually like cool with the public, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And it feels great. I've known all along. Everyone else around me was just stupid.
The 2020s, man. We're in the era. We're in the Sonic era. We're in the Sonic era now. The 2020s is literally the best time to be a Sonic fan in like 15 years, give or take.
Absolutely.
Least.
Yeah.
At least.
No,
Maybe 20 years.
I mean, for me, sorry, I was just gonna say, like, I was thinking of like what gaps in my gaming history are there, and it's like Pokemon and Sonic are two series. It's like I've known them for like a long time and dabbled in them, but not really played a lot. And after seeing this movie, I'm like, okay, I gotta fix that. I gotta get Generations. I gotta get Colors. I gotta get Origins. Like play through all the classic ones and like really understand like why the series is beloved. Because like the only one I've beaten is Mania, and that's a great one. But like I think that's doing it a service. Just say I've only played one Sonic game. Like no, I need to play more of them.
Adventure 2 is that game.
Good.
That's that game that everyone has to experience. That
It is that game.
likes Sonic
Right.
or likes the video games. That is the game that like was everyone's like.
That was
pinnacle.
my first GameCube game.
Yeah, it was not my first, but it was definitely one.
It was the reason I got GameCube.
Wow. Mine was Mario Sunshine, I think was my first GameCube game, I want to say. But that was definitely one.
I remember getting that and then giving it away a week later.
Dang.
Dude, Blockbuster.
My
man.
first GameCube game Melee was my first. Either Melee or Luigi's
That's
Mansion.
Solid.
Pretty good.
We had like Melee, Luigi's Mansion, Pikmin, and Star Wars Rogue Squadron. That was our four.
Ooh, nice. All classics.
Right.
Now, getting back to the movie itself, the first act, I like how they started it, like Sonic and Friends, like with the whole race thing and stuff,
Mhm.
and the holograms with the foot tap thing. That was cool. Fun little nod. The introduction of Shadow. You know what? Now, I don't know all the lore with like Shadow and the backstory. I know the
All right.
Maria thing and all that, but I know they changed some things. I know they changed a little bit of things like
They
in
did
the lore and
change.
stuff.
Yeah.
They
What
did
all-
change some of things, yeah.
Because I know that Robotnik's grandfather, isn't he supposed to be like dead or something? He's not supposed to be in current time period? Or
Yeah,
Yes.
he's not supposed
He
to
is
be.
technically 110 years old in this movie.
Also, they were supposed to be in space. They do it on Earth, so it's a little weird. They were like on Earth and like, doesn't the stars look cool? Because it wouldn't have been that. They would have been like, doesn't Earth look beautiful? Like that. They would have done that if they had done it more in the movie. But I'm fine with it. Like I understand they're not going to do every single story beat of the game. I'm just happy that they at least kept the core concepts intact, even if some of the details weren't 100%. Because at the end of the day, it's like you have Shadow, you have this space colony arc, and you have Gerald Robotnik, even if he's alive versus dead. So I'll give it that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the stuff they did with Jim Carrey. Now, here's the thing. Like, if Jim Carrey, well, actually, that's kind of spoilerish. Well, not really exactly. Like, when it comes to Jim Carrey's Robotnik, it's fantastic, and we don't know whether we're gonna see that again or not. I'm assuming probably not. I feel like, but we'll get into that. We'll get into that a little bit later. But I think it's Robotnik. The costume designs, first of all, yes.
Yeah.
I mean the spandex ones were a little bit weird, but he explained what they were for, so I was like, okay, all right. It's kind of funny. That whole scene with the like the beams and stuff was just it was a little out there for me.
That
was
was,
just
I
straight
love
Jim
that
Carrey.
scene.
kooky.
That was Jim Carrey.
That was really
Jim
kooky.
Carrey. Yeah.
Indeed.
I think they let Jim get really creative with some of the stuff, but I don't know. I don't know if he'll be back. Is it gonna be? You can't just replace
Like,
Robotnik.
if this
though.
was
That's
his
the
last
thing.
movie, they.
Yeah.
No, I feel like Jim Carrey has really cemented himself as Robotnik for like this movie universe.
Yeah.
I think if they really want to bring Robotnik back, either like if they wanted to like try to replace him, it'd have to be like a reboot, essentially.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
which I envision happening one day. I know that there's a fourth movie coming out, and who knows, there might be a fifth one after that, maybe a sixth one. It's interesting to see how long they're going to be able to like prolong this, because it just keeps going up and up in terms of momentum. Like
it does.
I don't know when they're going to like fall at this point, because every movie is significantly better than the last one.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well,
I will say I do hope they keep Keanu Reeves' Shadow though, because Keanu Reeves blew it out of the park. Like for me.
He did.
He's perfect. He's perfect.
I was very impressed with him.
He's everything.
You know, like he's my favorite actor. I love John Wick. The Matrix is good, but like Bill and Ted and all that. So it's like seeing him again. It's like, oh shoot, Keanu Reeves is back. Let's go. So it's like, you know, again, it makes me want to play Sonic Adventure 2 to learn more about Shadow and all that.
Oh
stuff.
yes.
Yeah. Adventure 2, Shadow,
I'll
Shadow
look it up
Generations was good
on
too.
YouTube. On
That's
YouTube,
true.
there's actually like some really good like compilations of all the Sonic Adventure 2 cutscenes, and it's not just the cutscenes pasted back to back. Like they've recorded the cutscenes without music, so the music like oozes in from one cutscene to the next. They added in like unused like voice lines and stuff to give more context. Like I was watching one of them because I was like, wow, I love this story. I just want to like watch the movie without actually watching the movie, because it's not out yet. Like on streaming, so I can't actually watch it again. Well, I could go to the third theater for a third time, but we'll see. But you know, watching like those cutscenes like back to back in that way, I was like, wow, this was still a really solid story on its own in the games. Like that's why it's had such fanfare for such a long time, and why it's been adapted in this way, because it's a great story. Like the bare bones of the story is fantastic, and I'm just glad that people are seeing what they've been missing.
You know, another thing that I realized with the third movie is something that I really like even more so than the first two. The first one, it made complete sense for the setup. The second one, it didn't need as much screen time as it did, but the human characters were not in this as much as the first and second movie.
Nope.
Which is
I was
fantastic.
so happy.
Yeah. They
I will
they're
say,
just...
like the oh god.
No, go ahead. What's up?
Sorry. I will say the second one, Rachel. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I mean, I know she was, but like, it's like a so like funny, like so bad it's funny kind of way, and like I don't know, like it was nice that like they didn't overdo it in this one. I think in like the second one, it was like okay, that like it. I rewatched like 2 just like a few days ago. It's like this again, but like no, it's like we have like one tiny snippet of the whole thing is just like Sonic and friends, villains, and then that's it. Like you don't see that, and you know, it made it more enjoyable. And I was glued to the screen the whole time.
See, I have a very interesting like opinion on Rachel. I mean, well, I don't know if it's interesting. It's just very like back and forth because I remember when I saw that second movie for the first time, I was like, okay, this would be funny in like a rom-com, you know, but does it really belong in a Sonic movie? That was like my main like critique with it. It was like, this is funny, but I don't think it really belongs here. However, I showed my boyfriend the second movie. That was like one of his favorite parts of the movie. So I kind of see the purpose of it now. It's to help loop in people that aren't as into Sonic to kind of give them stuff that they'd be more familiar with. And you see the progression. The first movie is kind of like maybe 50% Sonic and 50% the human characters. And then it's more of like a 70% Sonic and 30% human characters in the second movie. And now it's like 90% Sonic in the third movie. Like they're slowly, gradually like letting Sonic take over more of the space. And I think they were really strategic with it because clearly people have latched onto the series and it's made a lot of new Sonic fans. So, you know, well done to them. Um, I still have the opinions that like I think that scene took up way too much time in the second movie, but I mean, other people clearly loved it. So maybe it just wasn't a scene made for me specifically.
I think that's
I
the
think
wedding scene and
contextually
stuff
though,
was made probably more for people who aren't huge Sonic video game fans and more just movie fans.
Yeah.
You know?
I will say contextually though, it makes sense because you talk about Gun and Gun starts to play a bit more of a role. So I guess the one upside is that even though there are the more human characters in the second movie, you don't have them as much because at least they're giving more exposition to Gun as an organization. So you don't really need them much around in the third one. Because if you were watching the movies chronologically, or if you watched the third one and you didn't know about the first two, and you didn't know anything about Sonic, then you'd be like, well, what is Gun? Why do they exist? Why are they here?
Yeah. You know, one thing that I wondered, looking back, I'm like, all right, they went to the Chow Garden, but the Chows don't exist on Earth. So how do they know? How do Earth people know what the Chows even are? How does this place exist? Right? Because the Chows
You
aren't
know
from Earth.
what? I would love to see like a spin-off like series about that. You know, maybe it's just like I'm trying to think of what some explanation could be. It could be a popular children's series or something that someone just designed in like this universe. Or maybe, you know, Shadow, well, that's kind of getting into spoiler territory, but you know, Sonic might not be like the only alien to arrive to this planet. Um, there could be like other ones that we don't know about. So maybe Chow arrived here in some way, and that's how they made a Chow Garden. I don't know, but I was just happy to see it. I was happy to see the Chow costumes. I was happy to see people wearing the Chow hats. I'm like, the Chow need to come back.
Yeah.
They need to come back right now.
I think there will be, because it's only a little over 2 years before Sonic 4. What the heck? I still think we'll get some kind of spin-off before Sonic 4. They just don't want to announce it yet.
I think so.
I think there'll be something.
I mean, we got Knuckles.
Knuckles.
Yeah, and Knuckles was
I think
announced
we're gonna get another season Knuckles.
Knuckles was announced after Sonic 2, so I think that we will get something like within a year or so. They'll announce something to come out probably in 2026, and then 2027 will be Sonic 4.
Mm-hmm.
What else do we want to get into?
No, they want to make this like I think there was that one interview where someone said that they wanted this to be like a Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I'm like, well, you know what? I'm a Sonic fan, so I'm all for it. I'll actually like watch all of it.
No, yeah, it makes sense. I could see them down the line making spin-off movies, not just TV shows down the line. I don't think they're going to do that yet because there's every single movie's introducing more and more characters. I think that's more of like a after Sonic 5 maybe. I don't know. Sonic, we'll get into characters, but not yet. But what were you going to say, AquaTwist?
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, like, I saw a tweet earlier. It's like, oh, like the director or someone is like, Mario and Sonic crossover movie. I mean, it's hard to do, but you never know. So and it made me think like that would be kind of interesting. Like seeing like a crossover between like Illumination and Paramount. That would probably never happen, but it just got me thinking like, what if like there was another like game series,
Pokemon.
with Sonic, like another Sega series, like they could do like Yakuza, or they could do. I'm trying to think, like Virtua Fighter. They could like have like a Virtua Fighter cameo or something. That'd be pretty cool.
I find it so funny that
I
they,
feel
that
like I
Pokemon.
heard about another Sega series.
It's funny that Pokemon is
getting a
mentioned in
movie.
the movie. How are they allowed to mention Pokemon in the movie
I
and
love that
Detective
too.
Pikachu? So I'm like,
I mean, I think that's like just a. There's a lot of movies that reference like pop culture, like things and stuff. So I think it's just okay to do, basically.
we need a new Pokemon
I mean, they're not
movie
using
like that.
any actual Pokemon property.
I don't think Pokemon and Sonic would ever cross over though. Mario seems more likely, even though it's Illumination.
No.
Pokemon would be weird to cross over with Sonic. I feel like they're just gonna stick to doing their own universe, and down the line, considering how successful these movies are so far, I think after like Sonic 4 or 5, they might start doing actual spin-off movies outside of just Sonic the Hedgehog. Once people
Yeah.
are more familiar with the other characters, like a lot more familiar, like your casual audience that don't play the video games, I could see it possible.
A Rachel TV show, let's go.
Oh my god.
Watch all seasons. I'm just kidding.
Getting ultra nasty.
I can see him doing a Shadow
That
show.
was great. Good.
Yeah, I definitely can see a Shadow thing coming in the future. If Knuckles got something, I feel like Shadow will definitely get something.
Yeah. Some people said that the
So
second.
what?
What's up? Go ahead.
Any other like thoughts before we move into like spoilers? I'm like running out of things.
I kind of am.
I mean, I guess I'll just say like my primary opinion about the movie without spoilers is that as someone who grew up with this storyline in particular, that I like love this. I like love Shadow so much as a kid. They took the perfect amount of stuff from the games and didn't touch that stuff, but they also like added a lot of new ideas that still shocked me as like a longtime fan. And I feel like it's just this rare occurrence where they hit like a perfect balance of everything. They took the perfect amount of old stuff and didn't touch that, but they also added in some new things and actually made the story feel richer in a lot of ways too. And we can talk more about that once the spoiler section is starting. But I was very thoroughly impressed with how they tackled that challenge, because that's a big challenge of like any adaptation, which is pleasing the old fans, but also making sure the material actually suits like that of a movie medium. Because video games are great, but they don't always tell like the best stories for like a movie or like a TV show. So they changed just the right amount of things that it all just worked really well for me, and I'm so thoroughly impressed.
I can't disagree with that. Really, just about all the
Yeah.
story point. And the thing is going live action from video games, like it's always risky when you make some changes, but you got to make some form of changes, obviously, or else you're just watching the same thing, the exact thing that you played or whatever. So whatever. But I think
Yeah.
the risks that are taken are they just really know what they're doing.
They
just really know what they're doing.
they did. I was so shocked when like we saw that first trailer and Gerald came out of the open at the very end. I was like, what are they doing? Like
Yeah.
this very well could not work, but they proved me wrong. They really made it work this time. I was very impressed.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, now that that's out of the way, now we can actually really talk about this movie. So, spoilers.
Oh,
So yeah, first act.
yeah.
I mean,
Let's say,
we'll go right off the bat with first act. Like the introduction of Shadow, so good, like so good. Like the way he wakes up, takes out all the guards. The music playing when he's walking slowly out of the prison, and then runs across the water.
Mhm.
Man, so good.
That's
So
how you
good.
set a tone for a movie. Like
I really liked how
immediately.
they did the guitar line of Live and Learn.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah,
I'm like,
they
as soon
did.
as I heard them, like, they're playing that in this movie. No way, they're actually gonna do it. And it took
That's
like
a very
How long?
emotional song for me. You know, I've seen Crush twice live, and every time they sing that song, I like want to like die. Like I just want to like drown in tears. You know, it's just like it's such an epic song. It really is like, in my opinion, like the Sonic song. And to see so many references to Live and Learn in this movie had really warmed my heart. That's something that like really made me happy in particular. Out of like everything, like that made me really happy.
I think the next big Sonic song that I would love to hear, but it wouldn't be in the next movie. It probably would be maybe the movie after it. You'd need more characters, and that'd be the Sonic Heroes, like kind of the music of like either the main
I
theme
mean-
or the like song from the very first level. Something along those lines. I wonder
Yeah.
if they'll ever actually get to that point where they can do a story of like separate teams here and there, like Sonic Heroes. It makes me really wonder if that's ever
I
even
think they're
humanly
going
possible.
in that direction for sure.
Maybe.
You know, if you use spin-offs and stuff to introduce like, you know,
Good.
my pipe dream is that in the second season of the Knuckles show, they introduce the Chaotix, you know?
Ooh.
So introduce the Chaotix there. If there's like a Shao movie, introduce Rouge and Omega there. And I don't know, shoehorn Cream and Big in some way in like the next movie or something. I don't know. So like, you know, that's like the perfect way to like, they have like this things in place to get that going.
Well, I guess if they introduce Amy along with Big, then they could do the first adventure game. But it'd be interesting to see Shadow in that. Shadow's not in the first adventure.
It's also hard to really make screen time for so many characters as you keep introducing more and more as well, which it can get really tricky because now you have Shadow. Next movie, you're going to have now Amy and Metal Sonic, which is cool. We all kind of figured maybe it'd be Metal Sonic, depending. And then
Yeah.
Robot.
Mhm.
It makes me wonder because I don't know a lot about Metal Sonic. So how does this all work without Robotnik if Robotnik's not a part of the storyline?
That is, well, obviously they're not afraid of playing around the lore, as we saw with the third movie. Having Gerald be side by side with Eggman is something we've never seen before. So they're obviously totally fine with just like changing things up, which is really exciting. You know, maybe if you're like a purist, you'll be like, oh, just keep it the same. But I'm like, no, man, it's a whole different universe. Like, play around with it. Do what you need to do to tell a great story. And I think they've definitely have gained my trust with this movie.
Yeah, I remember like while we're on the subject, because of how crazy that crowd was in my theater, like that first credit scene, I was like, okay, yeah, Metal Sonic, it's really cool. And then people started going, oh, it's Metal Sonic. And then like they saw the hammer, and then the person next to me is like, oh, it's Amy. I'm like, wait, what? And then it's like, Amy. And then that was like a visceral Smash Ultimate or 4 level reaction. I never thought I would go to a movie and see that.
You know, it's funny
Holy
because
crap.
if I were to
Oh.
rewatch that post-credit scene, it does feel like a Smash reveal because you don't see her face at first, and she knocks out a Metal Sonic, and the way that it like zooms in, it's as if they
Yeah.
purposely did it that way to make it act like it was a Smash reveal. So cool.
Actually,
probably
yeah, I
did.
totally see that.
Yeah.
And I just have to say this, but there was someone in the theater when they were playing that post-credit scene for me. Then before they were revealing like who like it was, someone next to me was screaming Vector. They're screaming Vector, and I thought that was the funniest shit ever. I was like, dream big, dream big. Maybe it'll happen one day.
Now, Amy made the most sense to be the next character being introduced.
Amy does make
Yeah.
the most sense.
100%.
I mean, I think like they made her like technically the 4th playable character in the Origins collection, right?
You know, if anything, Amy probably was like Amy logically should have come before Shadow, to be honest. But
Yeah.
I totally understand why they brought Shadow in at this point, because I think given where Sonic is at in his journey, like the way that they interwoven Sonic's character arc into Shadow's character arc and how much they were compared and contrasted, I think made for like a really effective storyline. I was
Plus, they
very
didn't have
impressed.
to- They didn't have to break Sonic out of. Amy didn't have to break Sonic out of jail. So
There's like Sonic sees a lot of character growth here. He's kind of like, I know he's like the main character, obviously, but like clearly everyone was coming for Shadow. Like Shadow is the big star here, but seeing like how Sonic grows as a character in this movie, especially, was very surprising to me. I was like, because in the original Sonic Adventure 2, Shadow obviously has this like big character arc where he goes from like wanting to like gain vengeance everywhere to eventually changing his heart and trying to save the world. In Sonic Adventure 2, Sonic didn't really have a character arc. Sonic was just like, oh, what's going on? I gotta go save the day, kind of like thing, which is fine because it's a video game. But seeing Sonic really like learn what it means to be a team player in this movie was really, really cool. I really enjoyed that arc.
I'm also glad they didn't borrow the arc where everyone would mistake Sonic as Shadow, because they did that a lot in the original. So it's not only just capturing Sonic because they think Sonic is Shadow, but also like the whole gun being like, we gotta get Sonic because he's like really bad. It's like you can't tell the difference between the color of one hedgehog to another.
Yeah.
Well, also like the marketing material of this movie, I think they're like they knew the audience. Like, okay, there's gonna be a lot of Venture fans. Like this poster right here, like even this, like you walk into a theater, it's like, oh, I'm gonna see the
I
new
need
Sonic
that
movie. It's like,
poster.
oh,
That's a cool poster. I
shit.
need it too. What the
It's,
heck?
yeah, no, it
I
was
need that now.
crazy. Yeah. Hopefully they make that available online. But the point is like, like again, I've never played Adventure 2. I know I'm insane, but like I want to now because it's like when you see like duologies of like rivals going against each other that are like on semi-equal footing, that's awesome. And I think they really did a good job honing on that, especially during their fight scenes between Sonic and Shadow.
Those were some of the coolest things, man. The third act fight scene with them. Oh, I thought that I was over here basically
Oh.
listen, I was accepting my inner fandom of saying I am watching what will never happen, and that is live action Dragon Ball Z right now in Sonic 3. I was accepting that just is what I was watching.
Yep.
I think what made that scene really great for me, like obviously it's very epic, like seeing them like fight like face to face like that. But I think what really made it really effective for me was how before that happened, Sonic was like making a stand to Tails and Knuckles, like, I need the Master Emerald. I need to take care of this. I need to break the promise that we made. And Tails and Knuckles were very much like, no, don't do this. And then Sonic's like, I don't care. You all can just help me or get out of my way, kind of thing. And Sonic does that. He goes up and tries to take down Shadow, and Shadow gains the power of the emeralds too. And that almost to me was like an immediate slap in the face for Sonic. It's like, this is what happened. You gave your enemy this explicit, like insane power, and now you need to deal with that. So that was just a very effective like way of like showcasing Sonic's main character flaw in this movie. And I was like, it all like just ties in together like really well. Obviously I love the movie, so
It makes me wonder, because Shadow, he's like up and down with his ways. Like, is he going to like betray Sonic again in some kind of way? Like betray him at some point, be convinced to be on another end, versus being on Sonic's side with things, or maybe it just depends. Maybe someone lies to Shadow again over something, and which makes sense, right?
I'm kind of curious what other characters what they're gonna add, like Blaze the Cat or Silver,
Yeah,
or even some of the
Mhm.
the Wisps from Sonic Colors.
They could.
they can keep the wisps.
I like
Well,
the Wisps.
I originally thought when I saw the purple flash, I thought that was Blaze. I'm like, they're doing Blaze?
Oh, I would have loved that. But I'm glad Amy is finally getting her time to shine. She does deserve to be in this series.
Yeah, I think the next movie we'll have Amy and Metal Sonic, and we'll leave it at that because now we have Shadow as well, and it's like you have so many characters. You gotta just only introduce so many every movie. You know what's amazing about this franchise too now is the fact that Marvel and DC having their problems, DC rebooting, Marvel having so many
Yep.
issues, this and that, sloppy this, sloppy that, some hit and miss, blah blah. Sonic is like the new my new franchise. Like I feel like as long as they keep it up, I feel like everything they make now, this is like the new MCU for me. It's like you're gonna just do nothing
I
but
mean,
build this
yes.
universe, and it's crazy to think that it's like and we're gonna have a fourth Sonic movie right after having a second Mario movie, which is also cool. I
That's
feel like
insane.
within one decade, four Sonic movies and possibly two spin-offs instead of just one. That's crazy. That's crazy. Within under a decade, they are killing it. They probably already have
So
like a
what do we
script
think they're
written
gonna
for Sonic
story
4. Oh wait, what?
What are they gonna adapt story wise? Are they gonna do for this next movie? They have Amy and Metal Sonic. They could either do so. Here's what the movies they could do. They could do
Mhm.
the first Sonic Adventure. They could do Sonic CD because that
Yep.
makes sense. Because even though it really doesn't make sense when you see the end credit scene, because it looks like Amy is seeing Sonic get saved by Amy. But then again, if you remember the end credit sequence from Sonic 2 and they're showing Shadow, it doesn't really feel like they're using clips in the next movie. They're just using clips to contextualize that they're using Shadow. You
Yeah.
ever notice that some of the clips don't look the same as the ones that
Yeah.
we saw?
Well,
Because like they kind of changed some of the shadow design. I noticed that.
oh, well, I think it's because it's like they probably filmed that in advance, and then like um the next movie, like they would start development afterwards. So be like, okay,
Yeah.
we know we're gonna make Sonic 3, but like we're not gonna film it um like until like way after this movie comes out. So like let's get this ahead of time. It's kind of like Bayonetta 3 or like I don't know, like think of any game. It's like this game is now in development, and then like years later it looks completely different. It's the same thing. I also think like Sonic CD, that was my first thought. It would make the most sense. Like, do people consider that like technically Sonic 4 because it came out after Sonic 3? Like,
Came out I thought
Uh,
after two.
yeah, it
oh,
came out after 2, but I
oh, it
mean,
did.
like,
Okay,
it's confusing because, like,
it's
I mean,
so weird.
obviously, it's that game after that was Sonic 3, so Sonic CD is just this weird, like, tangent in the Sonic series.
Okay.
So, I mean, honestly, like, they could try adapting Sonic CD, but then they would have to incorporate, like, time travel, and I don't know if I, like,
Ooh.
want them to do that, like, yeah.
Ooh. If they
Like,
do, if they
if you're
do
gonna do
that,
time travel,
if
you
they do
better
that,
include Silver.
if they do that,
Oh yeah.
Well, because
Robotnik
that would be
is
06's
100% coming.
storyline.
Robotnik's coming back if there's gonna be time travel. He'll be back then.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I feel like the fourth movie is a huge wild card to me because, when we got Sonic 2 reviewed and we saw Knuckles was going to be in it, it's like, okay, it's going to be roughly like Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Like, that's kind of what it's going to be doing. And then when we saw Shadow, it was like, okay, this is going to be kind of like Sonic Adventure 2. Like, we kind of know what they're doing. But Amy and Metal Sonic, I mean, just the way that the post-credit scene was done, Amy is not a damsel in distress. Amy is a capable fighter that can fight side by side with Sonic. So you can't really do that. And you also have not just one Metal Sonic, but an army of Metal Sonics. So what if like the fourth movie is going to be like this huge like robot invasion of like
Ooh.
doppelgangers of like the Sonic characters? Like
That would
I
be
think that
cool.
would be really cool. And I don't know. I was talking to like one of my friends, Ty, about this, and he was saying like, what if the main villain is like Neo Metal Sonic or something like that? So that would be really crazy. Like, what if it's
insane.
just like a movie about like an impending robot invasion trying to take over the Earth?
Mhm.
Yeah, there is a lot
I
of
think
Metal
that'd be really
Sonics
cool.
there.
It'd be a more original story.
I mean, they don't have to actually use like Jim Carrey physically. They could just have him use a couple of voice lines.
Yeah.
Because technically,
Yeah.
even in like say when they did Heroes, they didn't use a lot of Dr. Eggman. They just had decoys a lot.
They
So they
might,
could have
they
decoys, and
might,
that's a big thing.
they might take him out for a movie. Who knows? And bring him back in the fifth one. There's a chance.
I don't know. To me, like the way that the third movie like closed off his story, it really seemed like a curtain call.
Yeah.
The way that he was like at the very end, like live streaming to everyone on Earth, and he was like doing like the robot dance, like the face that he had, it just really spoke to me as like, this is my final moment. This is the
Yeah.
last you'll see of me. I mean, they could bring him back. I mean, it's not the first time the Sonic series has done that, but just knowing how much Jim Carrey talks about like, oh, I don't want to like stick around and like overstay my welcome kind of like vibe. That's always been his thing.
I heard a big motivating factor for Jim Carrey coming into this movie was that he had a lot of debt and he had to pay a lot of it off. So that was a big motivation. So if he still buys a lot of stuff and he said, I had to buy a lot of things, I still had to buy more stuff, so I'm coming back. That might happen.
I mean, like,
Yeah.
Plus, he said
The
with the
one
right
thing
script,
that I am worried about is just like, huh? What was that?
I said, plus with the right script, he totally will come back as well if he's completely open to anything as long as
could.
the script
That's
is
true.
right. But what now?
Also, like, it's crazy to think that, like, out of all these, like, again, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Disney, DC, and all this crap, it's like, well, right, we have a consistently pretty good video game, like, movie series, and I haven't really, like, seen that, like, ever, and it makes me worry. It's like, how many more of these could they do before they screw it up? And I feel like I kind of just want one, maybe two more. I kind of don't want to see, like, in like 10 years, be like, all right, we're at Sonic 9, got all the characters, it's Avengers.
I think 6 is fair.
Who's that again? I don't know. Like,
Yeah, I think
yeah,
6 is like a fair
maybe.
end. Two
I don't know.
trilogies. Two trilogies might be okay, depending on how many
Yeah.
characters there are and what storylines they have. Because you only have so many games to work with too, and with how many villains you have and how many storylines you can work with the Sonic franchise. You can't just make 20 freaking movies.
yeah.
Like, you can only go so far.
What I would love to see is if it was like, well, obviously we know the fourth movie's still gonna be live action, but what I would have loved to see is if like this trilogy ended with Sonic going back to his main world. And I would have loved to see like another trilogy of Sonic in his own world, like dealing with stuff going there, and maybe switch from live action to CGI animated. That's what I would have loved to see. But that's an idea down the line. If like maybe they'll do like, I don't know, 4 or 5 live action movies total, and then like at the end of the last movie, like a major shift and maybe Sonic goes back to his own world, and you could tell like a brand new like series of movies. Sort of like how you had like the Lord of the Rings trilogy and then you had the Hobbit. You know, that's something that you could consider. But I mean, if they have ideas for this world, then keep them coming. I don't know.
Yeah, how are all these characters?
Who would you
getting to
want to
Earth?
see?
How are they all getting to Earth from
Well,
their other
that's true.
worlds?
I
you
mean-
know, they don't all have the rings.
I mean, that's why I kind of like am getting the vibe that like Amy just kind of gives me this like resistance kind of vibe. So I don't know. I'm getting like a Sonic Forces kind of like thing that might be happening, or like a Sat AM kind of vibe here, where Amy might not be the only person here. There might be a bunch of other characters that'll be introduced in the next movie, and they're all like working together to fight off this robot invasion. That's just like
That'd be cool.
Like
that's my pipe dream.
the Flickies will come into the movie too, because we don't have
Yeah, I
Flickies.
mean, the Flickies, like you could bring in Cream and Big, for instance, also like more minor characters that don't necessarily have to have like a huge like presence in the storyline, just like, oh, they're there kind of thing, you know?
I want to see an Easter egg, like where they're
yeah.
in an arcade and you see Mean Bean Machine. Just because I grew up playing that as a kid, my sister loved that game.
That'll be fun.
They definitely will do that eventually. I do not see them passing that opportunity.
So,
What's up?
who would you want to see the most, like, that hasn't been shown yet? Like, out of any Sonic character, who do you want to see next? We got Amy and Metal Sonic. Like, who would you want to see?
Good question. There's just so many choices. And that's a tough question because there's so many characters I want to see. You know, I love Blaze, but I don't know what kind of like interesting story they could really tell with her, to be honest. Like, I would have to kind of see what they would come up with. I think Silver would be like a great choice. I think he would introduce a lot of things, but he has time travel, so you kind of have to be careful with that.
Yeah.
I feel like if they bring Blaze, they would have to bring Cream, because if you remember the Sonic Rush series, Blaze is accompanied by Cream. And
Really?
Cream
Okay.
even- yeah, if you played the Sonic Rush series, you should play it. It's really great.
I'm with
It's so funny.
AquaTwist. I'm with AquaTwist here actually, with not having played so many Sonic games. So there's a lot of characters that I'm not too familiar with. Like, I know who they are, but I don't have a lot of familiarity with them. So I definitely, this movie made me want to play more Sonic games as well.
Oh yes.
Here's the funny thing. So I had a lot of DS games. One of them was Sonic Rush Adventure. I played. I never finished it. Through a lot of DS cases when I lost the cartridge. That's another story. The funny thing is, apparently that game, like was really good, and like it's supposed to be like one of the like most obscure, hard to find Sonic games ever, and like that's crazy. Especially with like again Blaze, Cream, and all these like cool characters.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely play it if you can. It's really fun.
So I wouldn't necessarily need to see them in the movie. I would love to see them more so in like a separate series or like even like added into the Knuckles series. But I think the Chaotix would be hilarious in this
Oh, yeah.
universe. I
I
would
think-
love to see them here.
I think spin-off
Just like
shows.
have like a separate like.
I think spin-off shows is a really good way to introduce those random characters that we don't know, and they just say,
Yeah.
this is blah 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 show, a Sonic spin-off or something," instead of having to introduce everyone.
They
in
would
a
actually
movie
fit right into
specifically.
Green Hills.
Because the thing is like, you notice with Sonic 3, I mean, Shadow's a very major character, so it made complete sense that the movie had to be about him, about his
Yeah.
backstory, all of that. But not every character needs that. So I think that it's perfect, like between the next couple Sonic movies to introduce some more characters through series. Like you could even do like an Amy spin-off show or whatever after Sonic 4 or something, even for Amy, and introduce more characters. Like there's so much to toy around with to where you don't have to show origin stories for every new character. Shadow was very huge and very important.
Yeah.
It just depends on the characters. They don't need a whole lot. If it, like Amy, she's probably not going to need a whole lot to know who she is. Like the movie's not going to be.
Yeah, no.
She's not the focus. She's just
Unless they
one of the
like really
characters.
change her up. It's interesting the way that they presented her. She definitely seems more like a warrior,
Mhm.
and my friend also had this theory that like they're gonna incorporate the tarot cards that she used in Sonic Frontiers, so
Ooh.
she might have like magical powers. Which I'm like,
That's sick.
I'm like, you know
Well,
what,
Yeah, come on.
I think that would be, in all honesty, Sega has absolutely no clue what they're doing with Amy. Like, they characterize her as this like annoying like fangirl Sonic for like almost 2 decades, and now she's like the complete opposite from in Frontiers. So they even went as far as like when they remastered Sonic Generations, changing some of the cutscenes so Amy wouldn't look as obsessive of a Sonic. Like they have absolutely no clue what they're doing with Amy. So if the movie writers want to come in and give her like a good like makeover, then feel free. Like I'm open to ideas. Like what should Amy be at this point?
Yeah.
I will say what they could do is, and I know that some people didn't care for the game, but Sonic Shuffle, they could bring in Sonic Shuffle because that is Amy, Tails, Knuckles, and Sonic. So that with those characters. But I guess they'd have to include. I'm trying to remember Void. I think that's one of the characters, and Illumina. So, did you ever play Sonic Shuffle?
I
No,
vaguely heard of
haven't.
it, but no.
You never played it? It's basically the
No.
Mario Party. It's the Mario Party.
I do know
of-
what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I remember playing it, and there's like a mini event space, and basically you land on it, and it's like you're walking down the street, some man bumps into you, you lose 10 rings, and you're just like, what was the point of that? That was the
Mm.
the mini games are fun though. I will say that like if someone could make a mod of that game, it actually the big problem was the loading times. They're as bad as 06, so that's the downside.
Yeah. I definitely like think one another like big point before we wrap up is like Sonic is turning, I want to say 35? No, not 35. Yeah, 30 in 2026, right?
35 actually.
Oh, 35, sorry.
Yeah.
Which for those of you who don't know, like at least with like Mario and like Metroid and a bunch of other series, like Japan and 35 is like peanut butter and jelly. So I'm really surprised that this new movie isn't coming out in 2026. I know granted 3 came out like a couple days ago, but still it's like, I wonder what else Sega is going to be planning in that year. So maybe they could be doing again like some sort of new project to tie in with this new movie, kind of like Sonic X Shadow and the new movie.
I think that in 2026 because of the new movie until spring of 2027. I think if that's their 35th anniversary year, because next year is going to be the Sonic racing game. I think 2026 because it being 35th, we will probably not only see a spin-off show, maybe for Shadow, I'm hoping, but I think we'll also see their next big 3D Sonic game. Maybe a sequel to Frontiers, who knows?
Yeah.
Or it'll be something a little bit
I
different
mean,
than that.
there's a lot of talk about Frontiers too, so it seems that would be like a good time to put it out. I will say though that recently in the recent anniversaries, Sega hasn't always put something out like the year of the anniversary. Like Frontiers came out the year after the anniversary, for instance. And Forces and Mania actually came out the year after the anniversary too. They were announced during the anniversary year. So Sega might just do that, unfortunately. Which, well, you know, it's not
2016,
unfortunate.
right? 2016. That year, I think it was 2016. You're talking about. They announced Forces.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds about right.
25.
And like they had Sonic Boom Fire and Ice, which actually wasn't too bad. Actually was okay.
Yeah. So I think that is a possibility.
Do we have any other thoughts?
All I can say is like, yeah. Sorry, I was just gonna say. All I can say is like, you know, as someone who again, like, has heard of Sonic my whole life, played a bit, and like the characters in some of the games, like this is probably the perfect way to like be a gateway drug and say, hey, you need to play Sonic now. And I'm like, all right, let's do it. So yeah, no, thank you, Sega. It's been a weird year, but like in terms of Sonic and just a lot of things in general, I think this is the best way to end the year off and an awesome Christmas present. So I'm very happy about that.
It really is.
It healed my childhood. So like it honestly was so like amazing seeing that on screen, like portrayed the way it was. Like when Live and Learn played during that final battle, I
had chills and I was like, oh my god.
Hearing Johnny like have his moment like in that movie, letting his vocals just like be pasted in there, like unedited and stuff. You didn't have like a shitty band cover it and like try to sing it. You had the OG like voice of Sonic. Well, he didn't voice Sonic, but like, the OG like Sonic vocalist like get in that movie and like carry one of the most epic moments of the movie is that means the world to me, honestly. Like that's like the one thing that I'm glad they did not play with that much. You know, the song is great as it is. They added some drums to it, made it a little more cinematic, which was totally fine. But they let his vocals stay in there, and I was so happy about that. That was probably like the most, for some reason, that was like the most exciting thing for me was the fact that they let Johnny's like original vocals in the movie.
The one thing I'm so mad, I was kind of expecting like an unedited like giant portion of the song to play. They did that the first time they played it. It was like they cut to like Eggman's dad slapping his butt, and I'm like, really? Like, no, stop this! Like, cut this out! Like, let's listen to this and keep seeing the fight. Come on, like,
yeah,
kind of ruined it, but I'll take it. I'm just happy the song's in the movie.
Yeah. It's something they've never done before. You know, the closest they've ever done that was just like incorporating like an instrumental Green Hill Zone. Like that's the closest they've done. And it's like something I really enjoy about the Mario movie that made me like really envy. Like I really wish they do this in the Sonic movies.
Yeah.
Was they use a lot of Mario music. Like even if it wasn't like the exact like same music, they did a lot of like instrumental remix of like various Mario songs in the Mario movie. I was like, Sonic needs to do this because Sonic is known for his music. We need more Sonic music. And there wasn't like a ton here still, but like you did hear Live and Learn, and they also incorporate some other songs too. Like there was the Eggman theme song. You could hear that for like 2 seconds.
Oh, really?
And yeah, I think it was the ringtone of Dr. Robotnik's phone.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I would definitely like to see more nods to the games. That would be really nice. I think there was a couple of like arcades scenes that was viewable in the Japanese scenes. I think there was like maybe Hang On, or I can't tell if it was Shenmue. There was something in the distance I couldn't remember. And then like they learned, but it would be nice to see like I don't know, maybe in the future they'll do "Open Your Heart" from the original adventure
Yeah,
game,
that's a great
or
song too.
maybe they'll do some of the like the "My Sweet Passion" for Amy, or you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, I would just love to hear more side music in general in the movies,
Definitely.
please.
Yeah, at the right points too, because Live and Learn, they really put it at the perfect points. Like it's unbelievable. Plus the robots they
It
were
was
fighting, dude.
perfect.
Seeing those robots was so cool, man.
Yeah,
Those
it was
just
really
those
cool.
specific ones.
I will say I I wish they didn't cut to the Robotniks fighting, and I wish they played a little more Live and Learn at that point.
Yep.
But I do
Mhm.
appreciate that they did play Live and Learn. That was the only thing I
Yeah.
would, if I have to complain, I was like, I really didn't care for the Robotniks fighting. Like,
That
not to
should
say
have
that I don't
been.
like
It
push
was
a
like
little
too
more.
like it was too drastic of a shift essentially. So that
Yeah,
was like the I think that's the film's biggest challenge was balancing that like lighthearted tone that the movie series is obviously known for, and this much more serious storyline that Shadow's bringing in. Because like I mean, Joe Robotnik, I mean, he's goofy as hell for sure, but he's actually a very dark and twisted person, like wanting to literally eradicate all signs of life because of his pain. It's a very dark story to incorporate into the series, but for the most part, they did a really good job of it. I think it's just that like at the very end, it's like you had Super Sonic and Super Shadow like battling these robots, and then you cut to that, and it's like that's a bit of a jarring shift.
Yeah.
But there's not too many moments like that in a movie, honestly.
That's not as bad as when they cut away from Darth Vader and Obi-Wan fighting, so it's okay. I could accept it more. No. But that's another story.
my thing is just when I was listening to Live and Learn, I was just like, oh, I really just want to listen to Live and Learn. And then they played it for like 20 seconds, and then they cut the Robotnik fight. And I was like, just have it a little bit longer, just get to the
Yeah.
chorus, and
Yeah. Yeah, they could have put that after or something. Not like right in between.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't really have like a lot of complaints with the movie. Like there's some stuff with like the Robotnik stuff that's like all right.
right.
Bit much here or there with certain things, but I don't have like a lot of complaints with it.
Well, we can agree that at least there's not as much product placement. So we didn't see any Zillow or Olive Garden.
Oh yeah.
Or imagine imagine Shadow's like, hey Sonic, do you want to go to Olive Garden after this? Hey, I need a place to live on Earth. Do you know you can find a place on Zillow for me?
Yeah. All right.
I'm just excited for more nods in the future.
All right.
I don't know. Like I don't see
Yeah.
a lot of I right now I'm confident of Sonic's future for now. You know, I don't see them. They're not rushing
Yeah.
it. Like yeah, they already announced the fourth movie, but they're already writing the script and everything. The movie's not coming out for over 2 years, and it was just over 2 years since the last movie. And look, we got an even better movie. I mean, everyone I've talked to has said Sonic 3 is their favorite of the trilogy now, which I think that's really freaking awesome. Pretty much everyone has agreed that it's like, and maybe it's all just because we're all gamers and we grew up with Adventure 2 or whatever, like because that was like the it's the Sonic game that everyone knows because of the music in it, because of Sonic being chased by a freaking semi truck, which made no sense, but it just worked at the time somehow. Like
It did.
Right.
it made me wonder if they were gonna do that in this movie, but I'm like, no, there's no way they're gonna put imagine Robotnik just in the front seat of a semi truck, chasing Sonic in a semi truck down some roads. Like, no, I don't think they're gonna go pushing that far.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
Yeah. No, I think. No, I think that's it. Yeah. Thank you, D-Man. No, it's like, whew, like, like this opportunity just made me like it motivated me to like see it before Christmas, which is good because one, good Christmas present, but also just like yeah, I think this is like the perfect time to release something like this. So yeah, that's it for me.
What are we all rating the movie?
So I give it a perfect 10, honestly. I have to say,
9.5.
Nine
I
point
give it a
five.
perfect 10.
Over 10,000.
Classic writer's moment.
Yep, of course Riders would. Yep, of course he's gonna give it the best score ever because it's his favorite movie of all time now. Even
I mean,
if it's
yeah,
fresh
it's
still.
my favorite movie of all time, my favorite series of all time, based on my favorite game of all time. I mean, yeah, I'm living the dream.
Unironically, it's gonna be in my top 10, I think. Like
Yeah.
I couldn't think of a single issue I had with it. Well, maybe one or two, but like I couldn't think of anything I had problems with. So easily in my top 10.
Yeah, it's like the things that I really actually genuinely had an issue with are like small potatoes. Like, and it doesn't like at all override the immense like strengths of this movie. And I just wanted to plug in that like I really love the Shadow Maria back flashbacks. I really love those, you know, because this story means so much to me, and they gave it the perfect amount of tension, like the building of the relationship between those two. I think they made Maria such a like a character that was like full of so much life and stuff this time around. Like it's a side of her I never got to see before that I really appreciated. So as like a big fan of Sonic Adventure 2, I was really jazzed to see like Maria actually get expanded as like an actual like child here with like actual like life like characteristics. It was really cool.
Yeah, and I feel like it's very relatable too because I feel like any kid around that age, any of us could agree at that like age, seeing something like that, we would be curious and want to like, oh, this big fluffy, cool looking thing in this thing. I wanna approach that thing, and then you want to be friends with that thing. You know, like you don't know what it is, but it looks cool and it looks cute and adorable, so I want to be friends with that thing. And then the way that their relationship was, they hit everything just dead on the nail the way that it was supposed to be. Just absolutely, they couldn't have done better.
It was gorgeous the way that they did.
They couldn't have done better with that story. They really couldn't. And the way that they twisted it with Gerald, it was perfect. You know, I don't have any complaints.
Yeah.
I don't think any fans really will. I haven't heard anyone say any complaints. If you find any videos of someone complaining about this movie, I will definitely watch it and be like, and see how the comment section's either turned off or tears them apart. IGN probably, you know, what did IGN give this? What did IGN give this? What did
They
IGN
gave it a 6.
Did they
I
really?
think it was funny because they were like, they gave it a 6. And what's interesting is when they raved how good it was, and it was like, but if it was this good, and you gave the other ones like 7s, then why is this 6? This should be at least an 8. So, yeah, IGN doesn't make sense when they do half the reviews half the time.
Yeah,
because
majority of their reviews don't
really
make sense.
No, they don't.
Of them. A perfect 10 out of 10 game is like a 7 for them, or an 8 that most fans think is perfect.
Yeah.
So, unless it's like Nintendo related or something, they don't want to give a 10. I don't know. Or maybe like Naughty Dog. I don't know. Like only specific companies they'll give 10s for or something. Maybe they get paid more. Who knows? It's not like actual fans. They're getting paid to do what they're doing. Yeah, exactly. Like
Baldur's Gate.
Come on. I don't know. Whatever. Anyways, when's the Astrobot movie coming out?
Good question.
Right.
Good question. I have no idea.
When's Astrobot 2 coming out?
That's also a good question. But when do we get a Crash Bandicoot movie? Huh? That'd be a good one.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That'd be.
Or Spyro. Spyro the Dragon.
I'd be down for that.
I think that some companies need to start.
That would be a good one.
They need to start taking some risks, man. Some companies just need to start taking some more risks. You might get some success. Sonic.
Okay,
they didn't know if Sonic 1 would
succeed. If they did Parappa the Rapper. Yeah.
Like they didn't know if Sonic would succeed or not.
I
They
mean,
just took the risk of making the movie, and only because they fixed the design of the character. That the funny thing is like a lot of fans too were like, they changed the design. I wasn't going to see the movie before. I'm seeing it to support it because they listened to us fans. So we're going to go support their dang movie. And look where we're at now.
Right.
What were you going to say? I feel like you were going to say something about Parappa.
No, I was going to say, if they did actually have Parappa the Rapper, that would actually be very interesting. I'd love to see that as a movie. They could have Snoop Dogg. They could have a whole bunch of like rappers and such. That'd be fun. I'd watch it.
Makes me wonder what other popular franchises that are video games will get movies on the line. I mean, Mario and Sonic are two very major major things. Pokemon will make a comeback at some point with live action. I heard rumors that they were going to do something with Netflix, but I don't know
Right.
I don't know what happened there. But Pokemon will be back in some kind of way. I wish we would have got a Detective Pikachu too. I don't mind that movie. I actually like that movie. I think it worked for what it is. But I do want to see. I would love to see a live action Pokemon that's actually like not Ash per se, but like I don't know. I don't know how they'd go about it, but like just it can work. It can work. They're making things work with video game stuff. But we're getting a new Street Fighter movie. We're getting a Mortal Kombat 2, even though the first one was a prequel. Hopefully it's better than the first one was. First one's kind of meh, but there's still hope. It depends on who's involved. Like a perfect example, if you have the right people involved, just like with the One Piece show, for instance, if you have the creator involved, if you have like the creator of the stuff involved, then you get stuff that works. That just works pretty well. So, I don't know. Okay, we all gave our ratings though. Any final thoughts at all on Sonic 3? All good? Cool.
Time to
All
go
right.
watch it a third time. Let's go.
I'd love to
Yeah,
go see
I'll
it a
probably
second
watch
time.
it third time
I'd
too.
love- I'd
I'm
love to
definitely.
see it again.
I will probably watch it third. I mean, I watched Mario Brothers 5 times in a row, so
Dang.
that Luma made me laugh. So I need.
Where all right, I'll go AquaTwist first. Where can people find you?
Yeah, so I'm on YouTube, just AquaTwist. I haven't really been able to upload as much. I'm on, like Twitter and Blue Sky. But yeah, like YouTube and Discord pretty much. Is where you'll find me. I do mainly like, commentary, UI design with the UI Spy. So I'm really gonna push that into next year. So yeah.
Ryder, where can people find you, and what do you have anything going on?
Yep, on YouTube, I'm transitioning to Blue Sky, so find me there. I also got Instagram, and I'm TikTok too. But you know what? Maybe TikTok will be gone in a month, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything new coming up?
Nothing really. Well, there is stuff coming, but I don't know how soon. So
And you tend to stream typically Sundays, right? Not always, but sometimes.
I've kind of stopped streaming. It's not. I kind of need a break from it, to be honest.
Yeah.
And my Sundays have been busy recently,
It is
so
the
there's
holidays,
that.
too.
But I might return to it. I might stream during Christmas.
Yeah.
I know that's weird, but I don't
I'm
celebrate Christmas.
considering I might do a Nights in a Dream stream Christmas Eve. I don't know yet. It's an idea I have.
Yeah.
Maybe. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm like
An
I
hour.
don't celebrate Christmas, so I will definitely tune in if if you are.
I
Yeah,
actually streamed Sonic Generations on the 3DS, so I did that after the movie. That was fun.
I did stop by.
Yeah, where can we find you, Gaming Otter?
Oh, you can find me on YouTube, Twitter, or Blue Sky. Those 3, or Discord. I'm on
He
Discord.
also
too.
does a lot of DS stuff because he's a DS man, and it's cool.
I do a ton of
Yes.
3DS. Yes.
Yeah, and he does Street Pass. So if you go to like PAX, then he does a whole Street Pass thing, and it's freaking awesome.
Yeah,
I met all three.
Yeah.
Listen,
absolutely.
for those watching, I met all 3 of these guys by getting over planes and going to PAX West, and it was amazing. And I wouldn't be talking to them right now if it wasn't for me going to PAX West, and it was amazing. And next year I will either go to East or West or both again. Well, I didn't go to East, but still, like for the first time. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But
Yeah.
anyways,
I will be at East.
I want to. I
We'll
might.
see you at East.
I might. I just might.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys for also being a part of this. Like, I know it's the holiday season.
Thank you.
Sonic came out. I'm glad we all were able to schedule this. I was glad I was able to figure this out somehow with you guys. It's amazing we were able to figure this out.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. Thanks, guys. And thank you, everyone, for watching. And we will see you guys all in the future. Go subscribe to these guys if you haven't already. They're all really cool. They do cool stuff. They're awesome guys, awesome people. All right. See you, YouTube.